Hello. So I was looking at this spare Slant Six I've got. I have two of these, and this is the one that was given to me by my Mopar buddy that no longer speaks to me. But it's a 71, and I was hanging on to this because I have a 71 Scamp out there, and that's what came in originally. And my plans have been to just put this engine together and put in there at the whatever time, whenever that time comes. So anyway, that's very nice of that guy to do that. I appreciate that. I'm glad to have the engine. But I was just looking at this thing again and uh, noticed something that may influence my decision whether to use this particular engine. The bottom is a 71. I know that, and everything that was in it came off of it was date coded for 71. If we look in here, you have a G, which is 71, 225, which is a displacement. Sorry for the glare there. R, which is regular fuel. And you have the 10,000 day calendar date code 3342, which if you decode that, that will come up to sometime in 70 or 71. And then that's the shift and some other stuff there at the end of it. The marks on the block don't have anything to do with the date or anything else, because you got a casting number here, which is the same as on the 73 engine I have over here. And then you have this, which is nothing. This is not a date code or anything. Don't know what that is. Maybe the foundry where it was cast at. And then if you come back over here, you got some other stuff right in here. The only thing that's going to, anything else on here that will be of any use will be, what was I trying to say there? The only other thing on here of any use will be if it's a late enough engine, meaning after about 68, you're going to have a VIN derivative stamped into it, which the one on the far left means it's a 71. And then you can see how poorly done the rest of it was. It's like everything they did back then was poorly done because they were all drunk or hungover or smoking dope or doing something, but they did a poor job of it. Anything, the thing jumped out at me, and I didn't even see it until I was standing here putting this valve cover and everything back on here, because I'm getting ready to, like I said, take this thing off the engine stand and put it up over here somewhere. You'll see that in a little bit. But when I had my face over here, I was just noticing, I thought there's two holes in the front of this head here. It's not supposed to be on one this year. Usually there's only one for the temperature sending unit. And about in the early 70s, we'll say, sort of early 70s, about 74, they started putting in a thermostatic vacuum switch. That's one of those things that threads in, and it's got plastic where the vacuum ports would come onto it. You've seen them on older cars. Well, that's a 74 and up thing. They wouldn't have it on a 73, and sure the heck wouldn't have it on a 71. So I thought, uh-oh. So that's not right. So come over here and just for quick reference, look at my other engine. Make sure I wasn't imagining something. And I'm not, because that's the temperature sending unit, and you see there's no hole on it. And this is known to be a September of 72 engines for 73. So what this means is this is the port for the thermostatic vacuum switch, and this is the port for the coolant temperature sending unit you just saw over there on that one. So what it is this head is almost exactly the same setup as on that green swinger out there, but it still has the drill tubes in here, which the drill tubes lasted through the 74 model year. So I took this valve cover back off and looked at it, got the casting number off of it, part number, the casting number, whatever, and that didn't tell you much because I used the same head from like 68 onward. There was just a couple little changes like this. But what was important was the date code, which I wish I'd left this off here. I don't feel like taking it back off, but it's just a 2-digit little date code on these. It's got a number and a hyphen and then another number. So this one was 9-4 or 9-4, whatever you want to call it. I guess the word I was looking for is dash, not hyphen. I guess you could say that. But anyway, what does it mean? Get to it. What it means is this is not the head that came on this engine. Because that 9-4, that's either the ninth week, that's probably the ninth week of 74, which means this was a fairly late 74 cylinder head. Came on a 74 Slant 6. This is not a 74 bottom end. If we look over here, I had suspicions of this. I just couldn't prove it because I hadn't found that. I hadn't noticed that yet. But when I looked over here and was messing with this engine earlier on, months ago, I was looking right here, and that's the head gasket right there between the cylinder head and the engine block deck surface. What's important about that is I've already taken my little pick on there and picked at that, and that's a composite head gasket, which means it's made of fiber, maybe some metal in it, but I think it's just fiber with metal fire rings in it. It's just a everyday garden variety, probably Felpro head gasket, but that's not what came on this engine, because Mopar, Chrysler, Dodge, Plymouth, when they put these engines together, they all had steel shim head gaskets. So if that was the original head gasket on there, it would have been, that to be a piece of steel, and it's not. So I had a very strong suspicion that the head had been off this engine. But I didn't realize, like I said, I just didn't pay enough attention to it to notice that this wasn't even the right head on this engine. I mean, it'll work. You know, you're going to say, well, what's the difference in them? Well, the difference is nil, except that you're going to have an extra hole up here that's not going to be correct for a 71. So, you know, if you don't mind that, you just plug it. Just put a pipe plug in it and just use this for the temperature sending unit and go on with your life. If the head's good, that's fine. But if you want to be absolutely correct and you want it to look like a 71 engine, then you can't use this head. So, not being able to use that cylinder head and not this bottom end being a little bit worn out, I don't know. I'm making a decision. I really like to put that car back as a Slant 6 for the simple reason that you never see them with a Slant 6 at a car show, ever. I've never yet seen one. The only vehicle I've seen with a Slant 6 that probably, you know, was all original was a swept line truck. That was last year in September at a car show up in Lebanon. So that's the only one I've seen. I've never seen an A-body. Well, I'll take that back. I have seen older ones like mid-60s and stuff like that, but I don't know that I've ever seen, I don't know, maybe one or two, but not this year. Not like a 70 or 71, 72, you know. It's all got V8s in it. I don't have a problem putting a V8 in it. I'll get that right out of the way, but I haven't made my mind up. If I could find a good running that's verified to run good and doesn't need anything, somebody's just pulled a 71 engine out, you know, then I might go that route. So we'll see. But anyway, in the meantime, I'm going to keep this thing put up. I've got more to show you later on in another video where I've been working on my shop here, doing some organization. But anyway, I thought I'd just share that with you. If you know, there's not a lot of information out here about Slant Sixes and how to tell the differences in them. I will say this, let me add to it. If you're going to do a quick look at a Slant 6 and you want to know if you're dealing with like a 170 or a 198 or a 225, the quickest way to make some determinations right away, just quick glance, is to tell if you have a tall block engine, which is a 225 or 198, or a short engine, which is a 170 only. You look at the length of this bypass hose. If it's about this long, it's probably about 2-3 inches, then that's a 198 or a 225. If you've got a short one that's not near as long as that, that's a 170. And a quick guide to know approximately how old the engine is, like if it's a pre-67 or a past the 67, like a 68, count the freeze plugs. A late engine has 5 freeze plugs on it. Like this one, like that would be like 1968 onward. The 67 or so down is just going to have 1, 2, 3 freeze plugs. And then you come over to you look at what I showed you over here. You clean this pad off, and that gives you usually 68 is really the year that they started putting more information on there. So you get the year code, you get the displacement, you get the 10,000 day date, and then you just go back over. Like I said, you can look if it's a 68 or 9 or upward. You can Look and see if the VIN number's on there if you're just curious if it's the original. But anyway, all right, guys. Appreciate you watching. Just thought I'd share this with you. I got to get back to work.